Welcome to the English News Program on Somaliland National Television with me, Waris Mohammed. We're here to update you on local and international affairs. These are the stories making the headlines. President of Somaliland meets with the UK diaspora community. Minister of Information holds press conference on national security issues. US President Barack Obama has State of the Union address. President of Somaliland Ahmed Seelanio and a senior delegation of notable Somaliland political figures met with members of the UK diaspora community. The President spoke on Somaliland's recognition, prospective plans and the need for more cooperation between diaspora and domestic communities.
President of Somaliland Ahmed Mohamed, accompanied by a senior delegation of Somaliland officials, members of the UK's diaspora community. The President, alongside cabinet ministers, former ministers, parliamentarians, political party members and other notable figures, addressed an audience of esteemed guests. Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Mohammed Abdullahi Omar, speaking to members of the UK's diaspora, reaffirmed Somaliland's priority of gaining its rightful recognition, and that as such, a belief that was non-negotiable and irreversible. The Minister of Foreign Affairs also spoke on the FCO claim of instability in Somaliland. Nonetheless, he was keen to remind people of the statement being retracted immediately from the FCO. Several other former and current cabinet ministers, parliamentarians and notable political figures also addressed the audience of diaspora residents. These individuals elaborated on the administration's focus on national development and progress initiatives and the role the diaspora residents can play in renovating national airports. President Ahmed Seelanio then took to the podium. The President commended the efforts of the diaspora residents in supporting Somaliland in various ways. The President of Somaliland stressed the significance of diaspora residents in fueling several markets and the need for more cooperation and involvement. President Ahmed Mohamed also mentioned the Somalia conference set to take place in May as a conference that will not only be a priority for Somaliland unless Somaliland's interests are accounted for. The conference concluded with an exchange of ideas and deliberation between senior officials and Somaliland's government and members of Somaliland's diaspora community.
Minister of Information, Culture and National Guidance Abib Diria Noor held a press conference on national security issues. The minister urged local media outlets to disseminate information according to factuality. Minister of Information, Culture and National Guidance Abib Diria Noor held a press conference on national security issues. The minister spoke on the stability and security of Somaliland as a nation basking in the fruits of peace and tranquility. Minister Abib Diria Noor continued to mention the overwhelming cooperation and citizen involvement in maintaining peaceful coexistence. He commended such efforts as a prime catalyst behind the nation's ongoing stability. The minister, speaking on a number of headlines circulating in local news publications, addressed the claim of tension between President Ahmed Seelanio and Vice President Abdurrahman Ismail Saylici. Minister Abib Diria Noor pointed out that there was in fact no feud or rift between the President or Vice President, and that people of positions have the right to agree or disagree on certain matters. The minister also added that the excessive exaggeration of local media outlets is not in the benefit of our nation, and information being shared on a public platform must be verified and truthful. Minister Abib Diria Noor took office after a political reshuffling and since then has implemented several significant projects aiming to further progress the Ministry of Information, Culture and National Guidance. Director of Tourism and Archaeology Ibrahim Mohammed Diria held an exclusive interview on the role archaeology plays in national advancement efforts.
The tourism and archaeology sector of Somaliland is one in which many nations and foreign organizations have attempted to gather and compile research on. In 2002, a group of experts made international headlines after publicizing the Lasgel district of Somaliland as an international archaeological site. Earlier, we met with the Director of Tourism and Archaeology, Ibrahim Mohammed Diria. He elaborated on the progress made in Somaliland, this tourism and archaeological sector. The Director stated that although much progress has been made, there is a need for more support and consideration from both public and private sector institutions. There are over 140 discovery sites in Somaliland with treasures and historical artifacts in need of expertise and investment. However, the tourism department has transferred from 2 ministries prior to its current placement. Director of Tourism and Archaeology Ibrahim Mohamed Diriye stated that there are staff employees capable of taking advantage of training, and that is the start of capacity building his department. He stressed the lack of a national act hasn't halted progress entirely due to a strategic plan of progress being the current form of action.
You're tuned into the English news program on Somaliland National Television, and now for international headlines in detail. President Barack Obama has announced plans to withdraw more troops from Afghanistan and measures to lift the U.S. economy in a State of the Union address that laid out priorities for his second term in office.
The speech on Tuesday before a joint session of U.S. Congress was dominated by domestic issues, as Obama challenged divided politicians to find compromises that would boost job creation and strengthen America's middle class. U.S. President Barack Obama stated,
"It is our unfinished task to make sure that this government works on behalf of the many, and not just the few. That it encourages free enterprise, rewards individual initiative, and opens the doors of opportunity to every child across this great nation."
Foreign policy received less attention but took on some greater urgency as the speech came hours after North Korea announced that it had detonated a nuclear device. Obama said North Korea leaders must know that they will only achieve security and prosperity by meeting their international obligations. This year's speech came at one of the strongest points in Obama's presidency. He won re-election by a convincing margin, is generally popular, and opposition Republicans appear weakened and fractured.
The UN Security Council has strongly condemned North Korea's third nuclear test and vote to take action against Pyongyang, the president of the Security Council said.
Members of the Security Council strongly condemned this test, which is a grave violation of Security Council resolutions, said South Korean Foreign Minister, whose country is presiding on the Council this month. He said the Council would now consider appropriate measures. North Korea's third nuclear test drew wide condemnation from several nations and organizations, with the US calling it a threat to regional security, and Pyongyang's ally, China, calling for calm. State media said the country had successfully carried out the underground nuclear tests involving a new miniaturized device. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said it was deplorable that North Korea had defied international appeals to refrain from such provocative actions.
Kenya has held its first presidential debate between all 8 candidates in next month's tightly contested poll. Millions of Kenyans watched and listened to Monday's debate, broadcast live on national television as well as YouTube.
Raila Odinga, the Kenyan Prime Minister, and his deputy Uhuru Kenyatta, who faces trial for crimes against humanity, were seen as the favorites in the vote. During the debate, Kenyatta insisted that the crimes against humanity charges he faced at the International Criminal Court would not hinder him from running the country. Felix Odhiambo of the Electoral Institute for Sustainable Democracy in Africa said that the two front-runners, Odinga and Kenyatta, came out of the debates with their support base intact. Kenya's presidential election is set for March 4.
That's the end of our English news program. Be sure to catch us tomorrow at the same time. Take care.